Hello everyone, it's Darren and GNB Productions, and today we're going over the 7th installment in the Child's Play franchise, Cult of Chucky. Despite this movie, in my opinion, not being as good as the previous film, Curse of Chucky, this movie is still a shit ton of fun. Cult is surprisingly enough the most divisive Chucky film among Chucky fans. Some, like myself, love the hell out of it, and others consider it to be one of the series' weakest entries. I myself don't know particularly why, because I haven't been paying much attention to the discussion surrounding this film. So if you're not a fan of the film, let me know in the comments why, because for me, this may be my third favorite in the franchise behind the original. The story centers around Nika after being sent to a psychiatric hospital, after being framed for her family's murder, and Chucky continuing his hunt for her to add Nika to his killer cult. Firstly, I love the asylum aesthetic. It greatly contrasts the dark and eerie vibe of the Pierce household in the previous film. I understand some people probably getting bored of the soulless white coloring, but I love it solely because of how it makes everything, especially Chucky and the blood and gore, visually pop out. And again, having the film primarily set in one location, especially an asylum, still gives this film such a creepy air to it. This movie also probably takes the cake for being the darkest one in the entire series. Now, I know the franchise has had some fucked up shit, but the stuff like Nika learning about Chucky possessing and getting Alice killed, her attempted self-deletion after the news, the creepy warden sexually assaulting her, and I'm just now realizing that most of the dark shit in this movie is towards Nika. And Madeline's story with her killing her baby is just... wow. I don't even have a proper thing to say. It's just... wow. This movie as well manages to balance its tone way better than most other entries in the series. There was a lot of goofy shit that happens in this movie, but none of it really detracts from making this still a horror movie with a decent amount of mystery and intrigue. For the characters, Nika as always was great in this movie. Even though she isn't as proactive as a protagonist like in the last film, Fiona Dorff still does an outstanding job. The side characters are all fine. My favorites in particular were Patient's Multiple Malcolm, who deals with dissociative identity disorder, which they play around with in a really fun way. And Madeline, who, like I mentioned before, is institutionalized after killing her baby, and it goes to some really dark and sad places. The disappointing element of this film in regards to characters would go to the one and only Andy Barclay, played by the returning actor Alex Vincent. Andy made his return in the post-credit scene of Curse in a cool-ass fashion. And in this movie starts off again being a badass by torturing the severed head of the Chucky he shot. But he doesn't really do anything worthwhile afterwards, as this is still Nika's story, but it makes his grand return to the franchise feel pretty lackluster. As well as Tiffany, last seen possessing the body of the actress Jennifer Tilly, which I really have to commend this series for having the balls to make it very clear that Seed of Chucky is still very much canon to the franchise. She, for the little of her we got, was okay. She still maintained some of her campiness, which I myself can't really complain about. Then we have Chucky, who, in my opinion, when it comes to the over-the-top, raunchy, and downright despicable side of Chucky that was toned down in the last movie, this is probably him in his best form in the films. I especially love the new trick up his sleeve. For the uninitiated, in Cult, it's revealed that Chucky can now split himself into separate bodies, and I absolutely love the fuck out of it. Seeing multiple Chucky dolls run around and kill people is so damn cool. Sure, it is really freaking stupid how it was just from a simple Voodoo for Dummies spell, but for me, it's a really fun kind of stupid. I absolutely love each Chucky's distinct design and personality traits. Yeah, despite being one and the same, they managed to stand out personality-wise, and it's really freaking fun. This movie, crazy enough, also ends with Chucky finally successfully possessing a human body, that being Nika. And if you were doubting her acting chops before, just wait until she has to actually play Chucky himself, because her performance is literal perfection, and it only continues to get better. This movie also has a lot of really cool kills, like the glass decapitation, the warden's head stop, and Madeline's death, however the fuck she died, were really big highlights. With how much I love this movie, I gotta say there is a bunch of weird shit in it. Like, weird story moments that don't get explained that well. Like, why Andy has a buzz cut Chucky doll. How Nika being possessed allows for Chucky to being able to walk in her body. Nika's very strange dream sequence where we see this off-looking PNG of Chucky, as well as her seeing flashes of Chucky's death in Child's Play 3, for some reason. This movie also ends in a really awkward fashion. I never tend to like movies or stories in general that end as just setup for the next installment, and this movie has a ton of that. With Andy being locked up in the asylum, Chucky in Nika's body, as well as Tiffany and doll Tiffany apparently riding off into the sunset, as well as the return of Kyle in the post-credit scene. It all just feels like a little unnecessary promise for future entries, instead of giving an actual conclusion to the story. It's also unfortunate that this type of ending doesn't really go away for Chucky. Overall, Cult of Chucky is a lot of good fun, with really good performances, a visual aesthetic that is pleasing to the eye, a really intriguing and intense atmosphere, a ton of good kills, really good writing with characters that are for the most part enjoyable, a whole lot of Chucky goodness, and I feel is one of the best entries that this franchise has to offer. Anyway, if you agree or disagree with anything I've said in this video, let me know right down there in the comments below. Also be sure to like and subscribe. This is Darren at GNB Productions, and take care.